Morning, everyone. This is Ron Ford. We are ready to start our King County Development Committee. Here it is, 10:30 on July 16th, 2024. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman's here.
Doherty,
Doherty here.
Iqbal, Kenyon.
Here.
Linder.
Linder's
Mr.
here.
Linder?
Okay.
Yep, thank you. Davist, I believe he left. Pius
Vice President.
and Williams. And Ford.
Board present. And I believe we have a request for remote attendance by Darty and Leonard. Linder, I mean. Are there any objections?
No.
Seeing none, we'll move forward. I need a motion and a second for approval of minutes from June 18th.
Mr. Chair, this is Caius. I would ask for unanimous consent for the approval of minutes from June 18th, 2024.
All right, any objections?
None.
Seeing none, we'll move on. Public comments. All right. Is he, I think he actually is. All right, we have Matt Korkowski. Is online. Good morning.
Good morning. I have nothing to say at this time. I am a petitioner with Lorraine Solar.
Okay, all right then. You'll get opportunity if you need, when that agenda item comes up. I don't think we have anybody for non-agenda items then. So moving on to our monthly financial report.
Mr. Chairman, if you could
Yes.
check with the people present, there was a gentleman who contacted me about attending the meeting who was maybe wanting to make comments. I'm not sure if he's here or not, or if he signed up. but-
Okay. Anybody here on non-agenda items?
Oh, thank you for double checking.
All right, thank you. No problem. Thank you for letting me know. All right, so moving on. Then our monthly financial report, which I believe is on file. Sorry, we're at our building and zoning division. Building and zoning report.
Good morning, Mark Van Kerkhoff, Director. So our team is already working with the Office of Emergency Management to help follow up on any damage assessment or damage that may have happened over the last couple of nights. I'm sure we were all watching intently last night as they described a historic weather event with widespread impacts that may take a day or two to fully sort out what the extent of the damage may be. But our team is ready to help the Office of Emergency Management and work with any homeowners who have any damage. So if you know of any in your district, please have them contact us. We can assist them with a damage assessment permit and get them on track to getting repaired and fixed up. So other than that, we're continuing to be busy with building permit activity and zoning activity. I'm sorry to announce that one of our zoning planners here, Amir, is relocating to Texas with her family. Her last day with us will be this Friday. We have a position posted to replace her. We have some applications in. We hope to have that position filled quickly, particularly in the amount of zoning activity that we have. That's all I have for the report. If there's any questions, otherwise we can move on to the petitions. Okay, our first petition is 4632 with Matt Kwiatkowski with Lorraine Solar LLC.
You need to have that moved, Mr. Chair.
Sure, we have a brief staff presentation with the
Yeah.
maps. This is its location on the 2040 land use map. It is comprised of 3 parcels, just west of I-88 and 47. You can see it's an area that's proposed in the land use plan for a resource management area. A resource management area, there's some of the criteria, but it's generally could be a variety of types of developments, either through annexation or through county proposal. And then the conceptual land use strategy, it is in the area for food farm and small town. It's right on that edge. Some of the land uses right along this ridge along Route 47 is not highly productive farmland, but it's right on that ridge area. Here's a zoning map. You can see there was a previous special use that was granted for a smaller solar facility some years ago that was never realized. There's some other special uses in the area, mainly for gravel mining activities or other types of mining and land use. And there's some F1s and an old B3 site there as well. Here's a close-up of the property. Here's an aerial. You can see the predominant use around it is farming, although you can see some of the mining activity to the north. Here's a close-up. Most of the parcel is currently being used for agriculture. Here's a topo. Here's a plan for the current proposed solar facility, which I mentioned is quite a bit larger than the one that was originally proposed and approved in a previous time. The access would be off Lorang Road. Here's another graphic with some of the landscape features. So there are a variety of stipulations from Water Resources. They're typical ones for solar projects that the petitioner is aware of and has agreed to. The LISA score on this has a site value of 29 for the land assessment and 28 for the site assessment, for a total LISA score of 57. Here's a farmland classification map, shows the variety of the quality of the farmland. So there's some quality farmland on there. Some of the lower scores on the assessment has to do with surrounding land uses in conjunction for other non-farm uses in the area. Regional Planning Commission was not applicable. Zoning Board of Appeals recommended approval with the recommended stipulations. It's before you this morning. I believe the petitioner is here to answer any questions as well.
All right, can we get a motion a second?
Berman moves that we approve.
Berman motions,
Linder second.
then a second. Questions or comments?
Doherty.
Go ahead, Dirty.
Yeah, on that, there's that section of they're not going to use to the east, kind of the northeast. Why is that? Is that water retention or what?
I will let
Mark?
the petitioner respond to that.
Okay.
This is Carl Broberg with Stantec Consulting, 209 Commerce Parkway, Cottage Grove, Wisconsin. So the remaining parcel to the east is maintained for the owner to continue their existing operations on it. There's also a stormwater pond, or a pond, we'll call it, to the northeast of that property, which is undevelopable. And there's a bit of wetland that comes down along the northeast side of the property as well.
Go ahead. Berman.
Berman, this isn't in my district, and I have heard no comments from any of the residents.
Mr. Kenyon?
How much electricity will this generate? How many homes can we light up? You had this on the tip of your tongue.
I have it nearby. I just don't want to misspeak here. Yeah,
Did everybody hear the question online?
yeah. Matt, you can clarify if I get this wrong here, but I believe, so we have a 5 megawatt facility, which should be sufficient to power approximately 600 homes. And we're looking at around 23 acres of developed or panel area. I'm an engineer, so I like to be certain with my numbers, but did I get that wrong, Matt?
No, that's correct. Thanks, Carl.
Any other questions, comments?
I just want to clarify that was Matt Kiewitowski, the developer from Nexamp, that responded.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Any online? Seeing none, roll call vote. Oh,
Berman,
wait, I think S. State your name.
Joe Scharf. What else you need to know?
Roughly your address.
I'm up on Plank Road, Hampshire,
Okay,
part of King County.
go ahead.
Okay, I just have some possible suggestions. It may be late in the game. I just attended something called Solar Farm Summit that was held down in Chicago for 3 days, where they brought together researchers, farmers, and solar developers. And there's some what I call next level opportunities to go beyond pollinator plantings, which are obviously beneficial. And we've kind of called that ecovoltaics, which is combining ecological restoration with photovoltaics. Now, next level, there's some examples out there, such as Jack's Solar Garden, and that's in Colorado. And Big River Farms up near Minneapolis, it was a existing solar farm with pollinator plants. And they cooperated with a local food group where there was a lot of farmers, some of them internationals that knew how to farm, but they had no access to land. So they were allowed to use some of that land, I believe rent-free, don't quote me on that, but they're able to grow vegetables and sell them at local farmers markets. And there may also be some research possibilities to collaborate, because I know that the USDA has part of the Farm Bill where they're looking for existing solar sites, or even better, solar sites still in design, so they can experiment with different designs that make solar farming more compatible with like actual agriculture, like growing crops, fruits, vegetables. And like a lot of things, Europe is probably about 10, 15 years ahead of us on this, as well as Japan. So I just wanted to encourage Nexamp to take it to the next level, go from ecovoltaics to agrivoltaics.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Mike Kendon, we have a solar farm and I know it's protected by a fence. And fence keeps people out. And they don't really want anybody else in there. They just want their solar panels. And they don't want, I'm sure they don't want anybody growing vegetables. They would like sheep to keep the weeds down, but I don't think all these things work.
All right, thank you. Any
There's a
other?
lot of investment to put the panels up and you don't want to have a lot of people wandering around.
No, later, yeah, okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, roll call vote.
Berman,
Yes.
Doherty,
There it is.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
and Ford.
Ford, yes. Motion carries. Next, our petition 4636.
Yes, next you have petition 4636, Alfonso Ponce Lund. service. This is in board member Gary Doherty's district. They're requesting an additional 5-year interim special use to accommodate an existing landscape business. This is where it's located. It is on a parcel that's used for residential zoned E1, which is our largest estate zoning district. This interim special use was granted almost 5 years ago to accommodate a existing landscape business that was there not in conformance. The plan with using our interim special use was to allow him a transition period to either move or close out his landscape business at that location. Due to some changes to that planning due to COVID, he's requesting to extend that for an additional 5 years. Here it is on an aerial. It shows you that there is prevalence of large lot residential / small farmette uses right in this area. Here's a close-up. You can see the building and area that he uses for the landscape business. Nothing has really changed in the 5 years since he was granted the interim special use, has not expanded the business. We haven't had any complaints. This is the zoning exhibit, the area that was carved out for the zoning lot for the interim special use. Water Resources just had the following statement. They would require a stormwater permit for any additional impervious area added to the site. Regional Planning Commission, it was not applicable. Zoning Board of Appeals recommends approval of the extension for an additional 5 years with the recommended stipulation. It's before you this morning, and the attorney for the petitioner and the petitioners are here this morning also. I'm sure they're very busy with all the storms that came through, but they're available for your questions.
Can we get a motion a second before we get into this part?
I would.
Linder will move.
Move it.
All right. A-Boss, Kenyon moves, A-Boss second.
Maybe Doherty'd rather do it.
Okay,
His district.
it is. He's not saying anything.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
no comments have been sent to me on the area.
All right. Good morning. Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Scott Richmond. I'm the attorney for Alfonso Ponce. My clients are here as well. Just happy to answer any questions you have. Just to clarify, this is basically continuing to do the same thing they've been doing for the last 5 years.
All right. I just want to recognize the landscaping in front. That's a series of, I guess, trees and bushes.
It's kind of a pond that sometimes is wet, sometimes isn't. It's just a
Okay.
natural area.
Pretty cool looking. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. Roll call vote.
Berman,
Byrne, yes.
Doherty,
Doherty, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Ward.
Board, yes.
See you in 5 years.
Thank you.
All right, moving on.
Hmm.
We have next our Property Code Enforcement Division monthly report.
Good morning, John Mull, King County Code Enforcement. We prepared our monthly report, which is attached in your packet. We've remained busy, and we have a handful of larger businesses that we've been coordinating with other King County divisions to try to bring into compliance. It's businesses that have been out of compliance for a number of years, and we're just trying to act as a liaison with all the different divisions to build a contact with the business and gain compliance. That's all I have for you this month.
All right, any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. The IECA Commercial Property Assess Clean Energy CPACE program.
Certainly. Do you want to handle the planning division monthly report first?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Certainly. So real briefly, in your packet is our usual monthly report for the activities of our planning division, which reports to other committees. We have something new in this month that we'll continue to have in, and that is we're adding more detailed information on the our department's ARPA projects. Now that the ARPA committee has approved and we've got legs under all of these, will be over the next 2 years completing the implementation of these projects. So we're including some more detail in terms of our staff's activities with these. We're very grateful for the funding and excited about the good that it's going to do for our manufacturers, for tourism, for the Fabulous Fox Water Trail, for economic development, and for agriculture in the county. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, just ask that you place the report on file.
Any questions or comments on this subject with Mark? All right, seeing none.
Okay, then
Take it
I'm
away.
happy to introduce Mark Pikus and Anna Marie Kowalski with the Illinois Energy Conservation Authority. They are under contract with the county as our program administrator for our CPACE program, which some of you may remember some years ago when they came and introduced this new program possibility. We were the first county in the state of Illinois to adopt a program under the state statute. And they are also the program administrator for a lot of counties, as you'll see in their presentation. We're coming up on the point in their contract where they'll be due for an extension towards the end of this year. So for leading up to that, we asked them to come in and give you an overview of the program, make sure you're aware of it, answer any questions, and then also kind of keep you up to date on how we're doing comparatively with other counties, as well as some thoughts that they have, what they've learned working with businesses and other counties on what they've done with the fee structure. So this is just for your presentation this morning, and any feedback, particularly on what you might hear about any potential changes to the fee structure, to give us some guidance in working on that contract extension. And with that, I'll turn this over to Mark and Anna Maria. And I must say they have been very responsive when we work with companies on an economic development standpoint, and they ask, well, what can the county do for us? One of the things we point them to is that the county board has adopted this program as an alternative way to finance clean energy projects and improvements to buildings. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mark and Anna Maria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. In fact, I'd like to start by saying that I do have printed copies of this presentation. I know sometimes people like to take notes and have something handy to remember, so I will make these available to you. I don't know if I have enough, but I did make some for you all. So once again, I am Anna Maria Kowalik, and I represent the Illinois Energy Conservation Authority. We are the first and foremost program administrator of CPACE financings here in the state of Illinois. So on to the next slide, please. What is commercial property assessed clean energy financing? Well, it is exactly what its name says it is. First and foremost, it's commercial, for commercial properties only. It is property assessed, which means that this is a debt instrument which is repaid via the special assessment mechanism on the tax bill. And this method of repayment of this private loan investment into private projects, it has many different benefits as a result thereof. Before we get into that, though, just to know that CPACE is actually up to 100% financing at fixed rate, long-term, for any energy efficiency, renewable energy, water conservation or purification, EV charging infrastructure, and some resiliency projects, whether they be components of or the full projects in retrofit projects, or part of the new construction process. And in that case, CPACE fills a wonderful gap sometimes that comes up in the capital stack. It can be a wonderful replacement for other types of financing. So it's a very niche financing tool, and it's very specific to energy efficiencies. Because its name is what it says it is, property assessed, this is legislation that has to be passed state by state to enable the CPACE financing to take place. And that is, and once that it is established, and if you can go to the next slide, please. Oh, okay. Oh, no, yeah, if you could, yeah, that'd be fine. So as I was saying, this has been, oops, we went one slide too far. We need to go back. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So CPACE has been enabled by legislation in 38 states to date, and including Washington, D.C. And then there are active programs in over 32 of those states. So what does it mean to have an active program? Once the state legislation is enabled, then a program is developed around that legislation to ensure compliance of the stipulations set forth, and also to develop guidelines, policies, and procedures, and the ability to facilitate the transactional process with a uniform set of documents and an easy way of working between the stakeholders, which are the commercial property owners, their capital providers, their mortgage lenders, and contractors. And then on the other hand, having the local governmental taxing authorities, yourselves, and providing that connection and that liaisoning, that facilitation of that transaction. And so as you can see, CPACE is becoming very popular, considering the fact that it is only this year around 15 years old. And with some of the initial financings actually taking place only in 2011 into 2012. But 2011 through 24, over $7 billion in CPACE projects have been funded across the U.S., representing over 3,300 projects completed and over 88,000 jobs created. Now, here in Illinois, it's the Illinois Energy Conservation Authority, your CPACE program administrator, who brought CPACE to Illinois. We are an Illinois 501c3 nonprofit corporation, and we do not charge you anything for performing our services. We do have national PACE program expertise reflected in the resumes of all the individuals who belong to our organization. And we are proud to say that to date in 2024, we now have 16 counties that are participating actively under our program. As Mark mentioned earlier, Kane was the first to actually sign on to the program. So kudos to all of you for being very innovative and avant-garde and bringing this to fruition. And in fact, your program, so as not to be confused with PACE Public Transportation, was renamed KEEP, for Kane Energy Efficiency Program. And so when Mark and the team came to us initially and said, how do we differentiate? Can we change the name of this? And we thought, oh, you know, no one's done it nationwide, but there's always a first time for everything. And so they came up with this wonderful name, which truly represents and reflects what the program is all about here in Kane County. Next, Mark. And so what isn't a PACE eligible property. Commercial properties, as long as they have some steady source of income, can run the gamut from office buildings to industrial and flex facilities, warehouses, and the like, light industrial, retail, healthcare, hospitality, mixed use type uses. But residential is not allowed by state statute. However, multifamily that are rental units 5 and greater do qualify as commercial under the PACE legislation and typically across most real estate transactions. Under the program, nonprofit and agricultural uses are also allowed. Typically, those are more on a special use case-by-case basis, but definitely as long as their support does not entail donations only, then they can be considered with other income sources. Now, the types of projects being done on these properties include renovations, just plain equipment installation. Sometimes it's just an HVAC replacement, for example. New construction, adaptive reuse, and refinancing, which we actually prefer calling retroactive financing, so that today you have the KEEP program in place. But if a commercial property owner wasn't aware of this prior to today, they can still go back up to 36 months for a recently completed project and recapitalize on their property and this project with this funding. And with the volatile capital markets today and high interest rates, this can sometimes be a boon to especially an owner-operated business. Next slide. The types of eligible improvements are not limited to what's here on the screen. It covers all types of energy and water efficiency, as I said, EV charging structures, resiliency, which here in the Midwest can include stormwater management types of projects, as well as lead pipe abatement. Of course, all the renewables, except for, so there are a couple of exceptions to the statute, and those include public buildings are not eligible for the KEEP or CPACE financing. Neither are utility scale levels. So for example, in the previous presentation with the solar farms, where the utility is being actually repurchased by other properties, that would not qualify. However, if you had an agricultural facility that had a working business and they had on the property some vacant land that they could use for ground mount solar, and that ground mount is feeding that property only, it could definitely work because this is a pin by pin kind of a tax assessment that gets put on the property. On to the next slide. As we said, we can finance up to, and we don't finance, we have capital providers under the program, over 20 of them. When you come to our website, which at the bottom of each of the screens you'll see is visit IECAPACE.org for more information. We deal, it's an open market program that includes any and all contractors who register with us, any capital providers of this niche financing tool, as well as any commercial property owner can come to the table with a project. One of the biggest benefits of having this tax assessment type repayment of a loan is that the lien runs with the property and transfers to new owners upon sale. And in fact, Kane County also has it has the I don't know how to say it, the honor of having the first transfer in the state of Illinois. And it was a seamless transfer upon sale of the property. Not one additional piece of paperwork really transpired in that transaction. And so it seamlessly ran onto the remaining portion of that loan financing, ran onto the next party. And then also it improves the NOI. Because it hits below the line on the tax bill. So it's also offset by improved savings in utilities expenditure, as well as in R&M costs. And then IECA program features, as I said, this is offered to you at no cost. It's totally open market. We have a uniform approach, and all parties are treated equally throughout the process. There is voluntary participation. So only those owners who wish to use the CPACE are the ones who pay the assessment. And we serve as the single point of access and help facilitate the transaction to fruition. As far as what benefit does it bring you, it helps stimulate economic development and business retention, basically. It supports job creation in your jurisdiction, lowers the cost of doing business, and helps boost the bottom line of local enterprises. It revitalizes aging building stock within your region and can help to increase property values. You're achieving your sustainability goals by generating clean energy and resiliency benefits that are realized community-wide. And it's also an additional resource when other resources lack from time to time. So it's a simple process. Actually, as you can see here, fairly circular. A property owner can come to the table, or a capital provider can bring their client, a commercial property owner, to the table with a proposed project. The contractor's involved, provides the installation contract, and once the entire project is developed and then reviewed by ourselves to ensure the state statute compliance, then we send it along to your own review committee. And once all of this has taken place, a closing date is set, and then the assessment is is filed with the tax bill. And as I said, we have numerous capital providers, probably even more than on this slide at this time. And the same with, we serve as a resource for contractors who are also registered and qualified to do business in the state of Illinois. Our typical financings are set by state statute. So here in Illinois, the term can run from 5 through 30 years is the maximum. Actually, the PACE loan to the value of the property cannot exceed 25%. And then also there is an energy audit requirement on every PACE financing. And so this is something that we as program administrators review when we're reviewing projects before we bring them to you. Also, mortgage lender consent is very important, and we require it in writing here in Illinois, and we do have a set form for that. And the fact is that because the tax bill primes the mortgage, so the mortgage is always subordinate to the tax bill. It is also subordinate to that CPACE financing special assessment line item. However, it's never a full subordination. Mortgages and other loan facilities come due upon event. They accelerate. The full amount always comes due. Upon any event, all that ever comes due on CPACE, on the CPACE loan, is that which is currently or past due in case of defaults on the tax bill. So that amortized scheduled amount, which is a set amount for the full term of the loan, only that small portion would ever come before. And once the mortgage lenders realize that, then they are able to form an informed consent. And so we've discussed mortgage lender consent basically, and there are other, you can come to the website for additional information if you need to. Now, how does one get started? And we're reaching close to the end here. Is basically we have an online program to be able to facilitate applications. And there are very simple steps that are required throughout, a total of only 7 steps before we get to repaying on the tax bill. And so I'd like to present to you now just the 4 actual projects that have closed here in the state. And those are first for about $351,000. There was a solar PV project. That was the only renewable project done to the state here in Kane County. And it was on former sports facility. This is the one that was subsequently sold. So that was a very simple project to get us started. Then we went to your award-winning Old Copley Hospital redevelopment. And so $3 million in CPACE financing was used to help support the new mixed-use environment. And they're everything from HVAC, LED lighting and insulation, building shell, windows, water conservation measures were all included as part of that $3 million. Next, we have a new healthcare facility, which was again, new construction. There are more line items that typically do qualify for PACE financing. And so this one really fulfilled all obligations on their multi-million-dollar new construction. And then we go on to another healthcare facility for almost $8 million. And so you've had quite a good run here for 4 projects in almost 5 years. And so that's not unlike the rest of the average in the United States. And so 4 projects here in the state of Illinois under our program. To date, 28 CPACE financings have occurred. Some of them are renewable only. There were 4 projects renewable only, 5 only energy efficiencies, and then 19 that are mixed renewable and energy efficiency. So you can see that we processed well over $120 million in CPACE financings. More importantly are the impacts that these projects have. And I think we're having a problem getting to the next slide. Oh, there we go. Okay. So as you can see, we've saved well over 10 million kilowatts of electricity over the 28 projects, as well as having over 575,000 kilowatt hours of renewable energy generated. therms of gas saved over 205,000, over 23 million gallons of water saved, with almost 2,000 jobs created and 11,000 metric tons of CO2 equivalents avoided from entering the atmosphere. So these are very impactful projects. And to see the impact of those projects more visually, this next slide shows what these equivalencies can look like. So more than 60 rail cars worth of coal burned, or almost 1,500 homes energy usage of 1 year. And of course, over 2,500 passenger vehicles driven for 1 year. So basically the impact is great. And we're very proud of this program, and we're very proud of our collaboration with Kane County. And now I'm going to introduce Mark Pikus, who is going to take on the rest of the presentation, discussing your contract renewal and fee summary.
Thanks, Anna Maria. You know, before we start finishing the slides, there was a lot of information. Does any questions you might have on what Anna Maria went through?
It's a lot of information, I agree. The question is, why is government involved in this? If the rate market, if you're saying that the interest rate is the market rate, is government subsidizing part of it, is giving any energy credit? If it's a market rate, why is the government involved, and why they have to pay 1% to the county and to some other fee to the other entity?
Well, government's involved because it's an assessment that goes on the tax bill. So government has to be involved in putting that on there. You know, as far as, you know, market rates, it is market rates you can find with other, you know, banks. It's usually pretty similar.
Yeah.
Perhaps historically, it's important to understand that when the idea of CPACE came up, it was the Department of Energy federally, together with the University of California at Berkeley, who were trying to think up some way to be creative and be able to help mid to large sized and even small commercial property owners have an option for an additional financing tool. And so this was created on a national level to meet those needs. Oftentimes, public buildings have other sources of public funds to be able to use, but to the regular general property owner, they might not have access to private equity funds or other kinds of, if they're not big enough. And so this was a great intermediary measure. And I think that's how it developed across the nation.
But yeah, government has to be involved because the enforcement of it is through the county treasurer.
But there are other ways. There's a foreclosure. I mean, everybody gets more mortgage, and if they don't pay, it's foreclosed and goes to the tax sale. So why it is different this way, and the person has to pay 1% right up front?
The 1% to the county?
Yeah.
Well, you know, the fees involved in this is about time and energy. For instance, you know, the county's time, whether it's their attorneys, their staff, in trying to put these, programs together. That's really, we're trying to cover the cost of the county. So it's not there's not fees, that the county is going to be paying out of its budget.
Why do you mean county paying from its budget? Do we pay for?
It's designed to be a free program. And so property owners, pay the county a fee for, use of the program to cover overhead and staff costs and attorneys.
So 1% may not be enough. I mean, if you go that route, why is it 1%?
You know, when this evolved, PACE is still a very small, you know, if it's not a baby, it's kind of a tween right now, a toddler. And so we tried to come up with, program fees that, we thought would work. The market just has evolved. The programs have become more efficient. We feel nationally that 1% or even lower than that is enough to cover, that kind of cost.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Any other questions?
But Mr. Chair Tepe here. Comment that relates to Mr. Iqbal's question and the discussion here. When you're a small investor or you're a small organization, you need to make an investment. You need sources for getting loans, and quite frequently these are hard to get. I know I found it in my own particular business. So having a source that will work with you and help find other ways of getting investment income is I think a tremendous advantage. So that's the advantage that I would promote with your organization based upon your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, we can move on.
Okay. So the next slide is the contract renewal, as Mark said, where the original contract was passed in 2018. It had three-year extensions. So we are coming upon our last extension in at the end of this year. That would take us out for another 3 years. The next slide is a fee schedule based on current fees. This is just simply a snapshot so you can kind of see what fees go into a transaction. You have the ICA fee, the county fee, and then bond counsel fee, which we really haven't touched on, but that is, we do need bond counsel to close these transactions since it's through the municipality. And you can kind of see the range of PACE financing amounts and the fees associated with them and kind of get an idea of the total package. So the next slide is the ICA program fees. Thank you. We're looking to adjust our fees. And you can see the first part, which is our current program fee of 1.75%. We have found that we're trying to adjust to the market for smaller projects. So what we're proposing is a more tiered schedule where we lower fees for smaller projects. As you can see, it's going down from 1.75 to 1. And then the next 5 million, it even reduces further. We are going to increase our fees for larger projects because of the time and effort it takes to get those projects done. So, why make these changes? It is really simple. It is this market feedback. PACE has been around now for 10 years. We have seen, from various states what financing packages work from fees, and that's all we're trying to do. We found that the threshold is about $10 million. If we can get, those projects under 10 to save on fees, that's really our goal. Okay, this is just another snapshot of what our current fee programs are and what our proposed are. As you can see, as we approach $10 million, we're reducing our fees. And for projects that go over $10 million, we're increasing them. Next slide is just another representation of the program fees. So we've started this process about 2 years ago. We're going from county to county to adjust our fees. We had DuPage, which is, have already accepted it. Cook and Will are considering it, but we have a very high confidence that in the next month, they're both going to adopt our new fee structure. And as projects come online with these other programs, we're going to, request that our program fees be reduced. So the last couple of slides deal with the Kane County fee. Currently, Kane charges 1% of the PACE financing amount, and they collect $200 for every parcel they collect through the treasurer's office. What we're proposing is that Kane look at a county cap or even reduce its fee structure to be more with market. What we've listed here are the counties that have already accepted smaller fees: Cook, DuPage, Will at 25 basis points. Will County did not reduce its fee of 1%. However, it did establish a cap of $50,000. Currently, Kane does not have a cap. What we find is that when we have our financing package, we're finding that property owners are pushing back, the market is pushing back on our overall fee structure, and it's no one's fault. As PACE has evolved over the last 5 years, remember, it's still a small industry. We're just getting more market feedback. So the last slide is just a summary of what a new fee structure would bring. This is very similar to a few slides ago. We have the IACA fee, the county fee with a cap. We have bond counsel fee. And more importantly, if you look to the right column, you can kind of see the difference in the fee structure going from what we have, proposed now to what we're going forward with. As you can see 75 basis points less on the first couple of tiers, down to a 0.5 point on the lower tiers. And the market has really responded positively to these reduced fees. And that is the end of our presentation.
All right. Mark, anything you want to say?
No, well, first of all, thank you, Mark and Anna Maria, for a good presentation. They have been good partners to work with. We would, of course, love to see many more than 4 projects come through Kane County. So we're continuing to market and encourage that when we talk to companies. I have asked them to give this as an introduction for information only as we work on preparing the extension and potential for revising fees. I want to let you know the treasurer is aware, though we're not proposing any changes in the fee per assessment that helps cover the cost of the treasurer's office and our taxing process. And I've also let our state's attorney know basically our staff costs for working with the program are myself and Chris Toth on the development department end, and then our civil division, the state's attorney, in terms of working with bond counsel and reviewing the assessment contracts and getting everything signed. So they are aware also of potential fee changes and how that might affect, the work that we do. And again, as Mark said, the goal is that it's like a fee for service, that companies that take advantage of this financing program, it's not costing other taxpayers money because of the fees that are collected offset our staff time. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions, now or as we begin working and preparing the documents, any feedback on.
So when you get done preparing all these documents, then does it come back here or does it go to exec or?
No, the program is set up so there's a committee when they get an application that gets submitted to myself, and our review committee is by the county's program is comprised of myself, Chris Toth, and the auditor. We review the project and approve it, and then it goes through the financing. So the individual projects do not come through.
Not talking about the whole package.
Oh, the whole package. Well, yes, for the there'll be a resolution for the 5-year extension or the 3-year extension.
3-year extension. Okay.
And any changes in the fees and program would be included in that resolution.
All right.
That would come back to development committee first.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Madam Chair?
Thank you. Is there going to be a projected loss in revenue? I know there's only been 4 projects, but are we looking at reducing our cost, and will that be break even? And I realize that small businesses, small investors would appreciate this reduction, but I'm just throwing that on the table.
You have an answer?
Yeah, I would agree with their assessment to try to do something to the fee structure to make it more accessible for the small and middle-sized companies to do improvements to their projects. With that, I think the area that staff is still looking at is the recommendation for a cap on the county fee for the, some of the large projects. I want to get a little bit more input from our state's attorney's office on how they feel about that versus the risk.
And then I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Since the climate action plan was passed, and I believe the first meeting, they're going to have organizational meeting is going to be this upcoming week or next couple of weeks. Is this going to intertwine with that so that as builders come on board for retrofitting, will this be front forward so that they can adjust their concepts of what they want to do with environmental issues with?
It's a matter, that's a timeline thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's another opportunity to promote that the county has this program available to all commercial property owners.
Yeah.
So this is going to be an active part of the climate action plan then. Good.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Very good presentation.
And when,
Go ahead.
well, I'm sorry, one more question on this because it's an incredible program and wonderful opportunity. If you are a builder and you're going to commercial development for a multifamily facility, is this applicable to that as well?
Yes, from what the presentation was saying.
Just checking. So it's not just industrial.
Yeah, any multifamily 5 units or larger could qualify for this type of financing.
I would like to see us get just this presentation sent out to all the board members so they get heads up.
Certainly, we can do that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we can move on. So subdivisions, do we have subdivision?
Nothing on
Environmental,
subdivisions today. In environmental resources, we have our budget presentation.
all right.
Under our FY 25 budget presentation for the Environmental and Water Resources Department is being presented here at the request of the Finance Department to follow the budgeting schedule. So I have had this slide in the previous budget presentations. I think it really helps to understand the committees that our department reports to and the fact that Development Committee is our primary committee, even though we have a lot of work that's done in an energy and environment. Our budget is approved through this committee and recommended to the county board. And while Energy and Environment does a lot of work with our 650 Enterprise Surcharge Fund, that fund also is approved through the Development Committee. So I've just listed for your use some of the activities that we're doing in Development Committee and Energy and Environment Committee. And we also have staff that is working on many items that fall under Administration Committee as well as Agricultural Committee. Here's a current version of our organization chart with our different sub-departments, water resources, environmental, and subdivision. And I would just like to add in this budget presentation, I've taken note of the items that have been discussed at county board in regards to the budgeting process and the challenges that are in the general fund. And I wanted this presentation to reflect some of those concerns that have come up. So our department figures are right in front of you and can be utilized as you move through that process. So the first item I wanted just to make note of in regards to the salaries for environmental and water resources. There was a previous slide that was presented by Kathy in finance that showed that our salaries had increased significantly since 2014. I've worked directly with Kathy to correct those numbers. We actually, due to reorganization and staff reduction, had lower salaries in 2023 than we had in 2014, even though there were yearly increases to those salaries. In 2024, we're reflecting the increase in our salaries due to the equity study. So if you look at the 10-year period between 2014 and 2023, we were actually reducing our staffing as well as the reorganization actually reduced our salary amounts. I wanted to just note specifically for 650, which is our enterprise surcharge fund, through which our recycling and sustainability work is done. This is a unique fund to the county in that we took in the tipping fees for our landfills. The landfill Settlers Hill closed in 2007, and we're actually in the post-closure period of that. And the landfill is currently being operated by Waste Management. That post-closure period will continue beyond the 20 years until the gas and offsite aquifer issues are resolved. But that fund is required to maintain a balance that would address third-party lawsuits, gas and groundwater contaminations, ongoing settlement, drainage, and leachate disposal costs that would potentially come to the county. Even $3 million that it was reduced to with the construction of the cross-country course is a drop in the bucket compared to what that would possibly cost the county. So our intent is to maintain that fund at a minimum of $4 million to ensure there's funds available to the county should any issues arise with the landfill. In addition, the 2025 budget for 650 is flat. We have a slight increase due to Holler license revenue that was offset by the increase in salary due to the internal equity study. I just wanted to note too, as there's been some discussion at the county board level about using interest rates from some of these special revenue funds to move to the general fund, that we are using the balance in the enterprise surcharge fund that generates interest to fund salary, contractual, and commodities. So if someone were to move that interest from this fund from 650 into the general fund, we would also have to move those expenses into the general fund. The other item I wanted to note, again, in regards to the general fund challenges is our department's 2025 request and including the contractual and commodities, which funds our office supplies, our vehicle maintenance, fuel, and our conferences that are required to maintain the licenses. Our total budget for 2025 in the general fund is $5,350. This was actually reduced from, if you look at the 2014 budget, a 10-year period, we were actually at $7,800. So we've actually reduced our contractual and commodities in the general fund by 31% over that 10-year period. I would note that when this was presented to the Energy and Environment Committee, concerns were raised with the fact that we only have $200 to maintain our vehicle, including gas and oil changes. And it's getting to the point that it needs new tires. So their request was to increase that $5,350 to $6,350. That would allow us to do some maintenance on our vehicle. But as you can see, our department is very minimal, and we would have concerns if the county board were to ask us to reduce this further. Our only option at that point would be to reduce salaries. So our final request in reviewing this budget would be that the county board could take into consideration these historic trends in the general fund, as well as allow the department heads vetting of the calculations before they come to the budget meetings, because our department is coming out of so many different funds. Our numbers are complicated, and we would like to see that the most accurate numbers are coming to the county board for our department. Any questions?
Any questions or comments? Mr. Tepe, thank you.
Thank you, Jody. I'd like you to expand upon a little bit. The one number that stuck out with me was that salaries and wages went up 15%. Is that because you're adding personnel, or have we gotten hit with inflation in that area?
Our salaries went down from 2014.
Oh, I was looking at the top line that started off on a report one where it showed it went up 15%.
Again, the New World numbers are in error because they have taken the salaries away from the departments. And so our only increase in the general fund is the 2.5% that you're considering for between 2024 and 2025.
Okay, thank you.
Because our position isn't reflected in there.
Thank you. All right, any other questions, comments?
I will quickly go
Oh,
ahead. I will go through our funds then.
This has nothing to do with the specifics, but just the work of E&E. Energy and environment, especially the environment and then energy that we just talked about, is critical now. We know that it is on the forefront of any policy decision that we're making going forward. Whether or not you feel climate action or climate change is a reality or not fictitious, we've seen an increase in change in our weather. And the weather doesn't impact our crops, it impacts our water quality, impacts our buildings. So even the thought of cutting this, I would, and of course, I'm not saying that we need to increase any of our general fund revenue, but this is a department that should not be in any way cut. Matter of fact, it should be, I would think, even grown a little bit so that it can be more impactful because we're going to need it. This county is going to need the work of this department. You know, I've been a big, strong advocate of water quality, sustained water, and that is something as the county continues to grow with housing going out on our western section of our municipalities, that need for sustained water is going to be critically important as well. And we have to make sure that that is maintained. So this is not a department to consider making any cuts.
Go ahead.
Okay, I will just quickly go through our different funds. As Vern pointed out, the numbers in the attachments in New World, we're working with finance to try to get those clarified, but because we've lost control over some of our positions, that those numbers aren't necessarily correct. So I want to make sure that you have the summary slides to make sure that we're providing you with the best available data. So in regards to the general fund, as I mentioned, the only increase is whatever the board decides is a CPI increase. We have in our numbers right now, the 2.5%, and that's with the board's approval. The capital and commodities right now is at a 0% increase. And we would then be potentially increasing that by that $1,000 to do some vehicle maintenance in 2025. The electric aggregation program, that is a portion of our sustainability manager's salary, and that is also would fall under that 2.5% increase for the cost of living. Our fee in lieu of detention is our 403. We're not anticipating getting any fee in lieu incoming for 2025. That's always kind of a rough guess as to what happens with developments. And so we have a 0% increase with that. Our 405 riverboat is a 70% decrease. We have a lot of the programming through that being funded by ARPA right now. And so we are not requesting the amounts from the riverboat that we have in previous years. Our 420 is our wetland fee in lieu. That's a 60% decrease. We have no significant projects in the programming. We're going to be doing some upfront engineering with the Forest Preserve to do some wetland mitigation banking. But the large project that was included in 2024, which is Geneva Creek, is not included in the FY 2025 budget. In our 421, that's our electric aggregation program. We're still under the MC squared contract for this coming year. And so there's a 0% increase in that. The 650, as I explained, is a slight increase due to contracted services with the 5.8% increase plus that 2.5% increase with the salaries that fall under 650. And the 5,300 is our SSA levies for our old drainage projects in these subdivisions. We have several loans that are expiring this year, so that will be a 10% decrease.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Go ahead, Tepe.
Jody, I know one of the things that your department does is it works with some of the older subdivisions that don't have HOAs when they have water issues. Okay. Has your budget been impacted? Are you still able to work with those people? Because I know you used to use the riverboat funding. I guess you're now using the ARPA funding. How are those people that are having those issues faring with our cost sharing to help them, through their situations?
Yeah, the ARPA funding we received is in the order of $700,000. That's beyond what we would have received from the riverboat for that 3-year period. And so we've been able to tackle, and you'll see the upcoming resolution next. We've been able to tackle some of the larger projects that this project that is on the resolution is more than 2 years worth of riverboat funding for us. And so we've been able to tackle some of these larger projects. Some of them are still in programming, and you'll see them coming through this committee hopefully soon.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Kenya?
From my experience, the benefits from your efforts far exceed the cost.
Yeah.
Far.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen where you've brought people together who couldn't talk, and you've made life better in Kane County for them. So.
I just want to say, is that the opportunity for our department heads to apply their numbers into the program, I'm starting to be concerned about, because it seems like there's a time lapse or waste not to be able to do your own numbers and then have to wait and see what finance does, and then have to go back over them once you see what's being presented. So somewhere along the line, I think we just need to have that conversation of what's going on with that. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we can move on.
Underwater resources, we have a resolution in front of you for the Chisholm Trail Drainage Project. This falls within the Wild West subdivision, which is in Plato and Rutland Townships. This is one of our Gold Star subdivisions. Not only did they begin with a major drainage project within that subdivision, they set up a special service area, so they continue to collect fees from all the residents in that subdivision. And they are doing through their drainage committee, that is a 3-member committee within the subdivision. They're polling the people. They're doing drainage improvements on their own, and they've just been one of our great success stories of the cost share drainage program. So this project is something that they have recommended for approval by the county board. This is an original issue with the engineering of the subdivision. When some of the original units came in, the drainage was not coordinated properly with the existing drainage that was out there. And it's caused a number of issues over the years. But in reality, what's happening is the drainage from the newer unit is actually taking the longest path possible to get to the outlet. So they're basically taking it in a 360-degree circle back where it starts. And so that in and of itself, water needs to run downhill at the most efficient way and manner. And it's certainly taking the scenic route to get there in this subdivision. So this will correct that original drainage issue. The residents are contributing as the landscaping improvements as part of their cost share on this, as well as the maintenance that they've been doing in this area to ensure that this can occur. So the bids were solicited through purchasing department. We had 3 bids. We're still finalizing the contract documents that I'll be adding into the packet as this comes through finance. And so that will be the additional documentation you'll see. But we've reviewed the bids and recommend for approval Misfits Construction, found to be the lowest responsible bidder in the amount of $183,205.
Motion a second.
Kenya would like to move that.
Okay, do we have a second? 8-Ball seconds it. Any questions or comments? I love these. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Berman? Oh, he left. Doherty?
Yeah, Doherty, yes.
Iqbal?
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Linder?
Linder, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Ford.
Ford, yes. Motion passes. Now our Office of Community Reinvestment. I see Mr. Berger is online.
Yes, good morning. It's almost good afternoon, but I'll say good
Yes,
morning
you
to
got
you.
10 minutes left.
We do have, we did include our New World budget reports in your packet, but we also have a deck of slides that I see that Blair has queued up on the screen, so thank you for that. If you want to proceed to our next slide. This information captures our mission and outcome statement that we supplied the finance department as part of the budget preparation process. I think you all know that our office relies on a mix of external funding sources, primarily from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Department of Labor, and the Treasury Department. And those funds are used to support a wide range of activities involving affordable housing, human services, community development, as well as employment and job training initiatives. Also, just a reminder, we administer gaming revenue that does come to the county from the Grand Victoria Riverboat Casino in Elgin. Next slide. This captures our 3-year summary of our staffing. And for 2025, we do anticipate a slight uptick in our headcount up to 42. This is due to the recent transfer of 3 finance positions from the county's finance department into our office, as well as the addition of an additional business services representative in our workforce development division for 2025. If you go to the next slide, Blair, we have broken our org chart actually into 3 slides. So this first one captures our management level employees. Just a reminder, I have 3 assistant directors that each head up a separate division of our office. Those divisions are finance administration, community development, and finally workforce development. And then additionally, I have a currently vacant workforce board manager position that reports to me. And that position you'll see is in red text. Anything in red is currently vacant. Next slide. This slide actually captures 2 of our 3 divisions. Our finance and administration division is on the left-hand side of your slide, and there's a total headcount in that division of 5 individuals. And then our community development division to the right-hand side of that slide illustrates that we have a total headcount of 8 in that division. Next slide. And then finally, our largest division is the workforce development division, which has a total of 27 positions. And I'll just note that 3 of them you'll see in red are currently vacant. We're actively trying to fill those positions. Moving forward, our budget is actually broken down into 2 slides. If you can go to the next slide, thank you. This first one captures our various community development programs. You'll see at the top of the slide, we've indicated each of the special revenue fund numbers that go into this roll-up of our community development budget. We have a total of 10 special revenue funds that are included and captured on this slide. For 2025, we are projecting nearly level funding at just over $17.5 million combined. In the far right-hand column of the slide, you'll note that we've provided some comments to explain some of the deviations in our year-over-year figures. These are primarily driven by the availability of funding and the changing nature of our programming from year to year. I do want to note that these figures include draft budget figures for the Riverboat Fund, which are currently pending review and approval of the Riverboat Committee, which has yet to meet. And then if I could progress to our final slide, this captures our Workforce Development Program budget, Fund 480, which is expected to see approximately a 7% increase in funding. And I do want to note that this program operates on a different fiscal year than our other programs. That fiscal year began earlier this month on July 1. And the budget you see in front of you, these budget figures were reviewed and approved by our 3-county Workforce Development Board, which oversees that program on behalf of Kane, Kendall, and DeKalb counties. When combined, the 2 final slides in our deck reflect a total OCR budget just shy of $27 million for 2025. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments go ahead, Tepe?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Wanted to point out that you have 4 vacant positions, but I believe some of those positions are required based upon some of the funding that you're receiving. So those vacant positions need to be filled in order to satisfy the agreements that are in place. Is that correct?
You are correct, sir.
Okay, so that's why I wanted to point out why this one was over the allotted amount that had been discussed with HR. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we can move on to our resolution. Scott?
Yes, we have 3 resolutions for you this morning. The first one involves our homeless management information system. I've talked with you at previous meetings about the HMIS system. Basically is a web-based database that our various homeless agencies use to track and inventory the various services that are provided to our homeless population. It's a web-based system, as I said, and the system requires ongoing technical assistance and a kind of IT support services, which are provided, have been provided by an organization by the name of Pathways Community Network Institute. This resolution before you proposes to renew their contract for a final year before we rebid that work. And the total cost is $46,332.46. That cost is covered with funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, go ahead.
I'll move the resolution.
All right, we had a motion and we need a second.
Caius?
Caius seconded. Questions or comments? Seeing a roll call vote, please. None online.
Okay, Doherty,
Doherty, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Ford.
Ford, yes. You can continue. It
Yes,
passes.
our second resolution in front of you involves the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. This is a program aimed at providing housing assistance and support to renters that are having difficulty and facing challenges. The specific business item that we're recommending to you today is to issue a total of 5 contracts to area agencies to specifically provide what are referred to as housing stabilization services. This is the case management and counseling service that these households require to get kind of back up on their feet and to be independent. We've got Community Crisis Center, Fox Valley Habitat for Humanity of Northern Fox Valley, Lazarus House, and finally the Neighbor Project that all responded with requests for funding that would help defray the cost of those counseling support services, totaling $721,219. Any
Can we get a
questions?
motion?
Iqbal moves.
Iqbal moves. Kenyon seconds. Question or comments? Seeing none. None online. Roll call vote, please.
Doherty,
Doherty, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Ford.
Ford, yes. All right. One more.
And then our final resolution carries with it some good news for our area. The Fox Valley Park District has been awarded $2.8 million in federal financial assistance directly from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And like the programming that my office oversees on behalf of the county, there are various requirements that must be satisfied. Specifically, this item before you involves preparation of the required environmental review record that needs to be completed in advance of any activities being initiated. Our office is qualified to prepare such an environmental review record. And in fact, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Fox Valley Park District have requested our assistance to do just that. The project involves construction of a bicycle and pedestrian bridge in, I believe I'm saying this correctly, Leipold Park, which is a park just north of the village of North Aurora along Route 25. The attached resolution authorizes our office to take on that responsibility on their behalf and also acknowledges that the Park District has agreed to reimburse our office for any expenses incurred during the preparation of the environmental review. Any questions?
Do we get a motion second on this one?
I'll move it.
Linder second.
So we got a motion by Kenyon Leonard, seconded. Any questions or comments? Seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Doherty,
Darius,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon. Yes. Linder,
Linder, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Ford.
Four yes. Thank you. So
Thank
we're gonna
you.
move on to new
Mr. Chair?
business. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Linder here. Before Scott leaves, I just want to notate, I had a call from a constituent who was trying to help a refugee family with a housing issue. And I referred him to your office, and he spoke extensively with Josh Beck. And he was just very complimentary with both Josh's knowledge and Josh's willingness to help him understand and navigate these issues. So I just want to pass that along.
Well, I do thank you for passing that along. It's always nice to hear good news. And, we spend a lot of time pointing people in the right direction. That's a big part of our job, and I'm glad it's being done well and to the satisfaction of your constituent. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on, we have our development budget report for 2025.
Good morning. Yes, I'm back. I'm still here. Mark.
We lost that
Vankerkopf.
part. But go ahead.
So back in the afternoon session here. You have your budget report in your packet. This is a brief PowerPoint just to kind of review our department budget. So programs that our Development and Community Services Department handles: building and zoning, property code enforcement, administrative adjudication, countywide planning, economic development, the KEEP program, which you just heard about earlier this morning, farmland preservation, and our Growing for Cane, supporting local food businesses. We also provide staff support for the county board committees, county development, agriculture, jobs, and we contribute to the work of the Energy and Environmental Committee. This is our org chart with names, with the exception of Hira Amir, who I just announced earlier, will be leaving at the end of the week. We are fully staffed. I'm the director. I have no division directors. Everybody is a direct report to me, with the exception of the two staff members under John Mall, our property code enforcement division, which was new last year. We're requesting to stay flat in terms of our staffing level. So just kind of a summary from the packet in your worksheet. I just want to point out the Development Department general fund budget is consistently revenue positive by anywhere around over $800,000, $700,000 per year. Even with the addition of the property code enforcement unit, which is about compliance, not revenue generation, but they do contribute immensely to the quality of life and taking care of violations, as well as freeing up the rest of the staff time to process permits and do inspections and do positive work. So overall, and I will point out to the expense increase that shows up in the salary line item is also due to some of the equity increases that were approved, as well as to the vacant positions that were reapproved show up in next year's budget, even though our salary is flat. As Director Welnick noted, directors don't have control over inputting into that line item. So that's what it ends up being with those two things added and the proposed 2.5% cost of living increase. There is no new additional headcount being added. Some of our other funds, Economic Development Fund 400, which is from the Riverboat, we're requesting the same amount we asked for and were awarded for 2024, primarily for matches for state grants that are reimbursed and matches for future grants that we'll apply for. Same with Quality of Cane. Our Blighted Structures Fund is sort of a revolving fund. In fact, we're working on getting our first reimbursement on a demolished property that's being sold, and some of those funds will be reimbursed to that fund. Funds 430 and 435, a good segue. You can go back on Thursday. For Agriculture Committee, we're going to cover those two in more detail. But sort of in summary, our planning division team works with a lot of grants. That's sort of a recent and current grant summary since 2020. Just over $1 million. We're also working with the ARPA fund projects, which I mentioned before. The Economic Development Fund, we're requesting, as I mentioned, to replenish that with $280,375. And then farmland protection as well, we'll cover on Thursday. But currently about $8 million in current grants and ARPA funded projects we're working on over the next 2 years with that staff. Additional grant opportunities with the assistance of the new grant administrator, Paul Kofer. We're very excited about being able to apply for additional funds and use the available funds in Fund 400 as potential matches. And then we're also excited about new additional agricultural grant opportunities. So the new farm bill that'll be coming out, Inflation Reduction Act includes potential and then other federal and not-for-profit organization grants. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Kenya.
Like Water Resources, your department has been instrumental in making this a better county to live in. And that's why we're the #1 county in this state, thanks to all your efforts. So.
All right, any other questions or comments? None online? Seeing none, we're gonna move on to our proclamation recognition.
So was late breaking news that was discovered, and thank you for adding this to the agenda, Mr. Chairman. Proclamation for recognizing Mott's Lounge in Burlington on its 100th anniversary, which is happening this month. And I'm not sure if Mr. Kenyon knows more about Mott's Lounge than I do, so maybe I'll turn it over to him.
Obviously, he does.
It's halfway
Mr.
between
Kenya.
here and Sycamore. I'd like to move that. How often do you see a family business around for 100 years?
Wow, yes.
That
I second.
All right, we got a motion, a second.
Go.
Any other questions or comments? This is
we want to
awesome.
live that long so we can do it.
If that was a question by Mr. Kenyon, Mr. Chairman, you might think of Kenyon Farms.
There you go. Where we at, 200 years?
Yes, that is a family too,
How many years would that be?
since 1873. You do the
Okay.
math.
I'll do it in a few seconds. Nah.
151.
There you go. Wow, that's next.
They have a fine cheeseburger, friends, very fine, and cold beer. And pop too, if that's what you want.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Doherty,
Yeah, Doherty, yes.
Iqbal,
Well, yes.
Yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Ford.
Ford, yes. All right. Can I get unanimous decision to put our reports on file?
Mr. Chairman, Caius would ask for unanimous consent to put the reports on file.
Any objections? Seeing none. Oh, I gotta do it.
You don't need
Oh,
anything.
Don't need anything. No.
That's what I thought. No, she's already ready. She's ahead of us. She's talking about executive session. So now To go into executive session, I need a motion for closed
You ruined the meeting.
minutes.
Chair Caius would ask for, that we go to executive session to discuss release of closed session minutes.
Ah,
Or second,
second.
Kenyon.
We have a motion to second, roll call vote, please.
This is a morning afternoon meeting.
Jacob.
Thank you.
Be fast or we're
Mr.
losing
Ford.
our, losing our.
Okay, Doherty,
Oh, yes.
Iqbal,
Present. Okay.
Kenyon, Linder,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Ford.
Ford, yes.
All right, everybody online, please accept the invite to go into the closed session. Keep in mind, we are live streaming until I tell you the word that we are in closed session. If there's anybody in the room that is also joined digitally, you must also join before we can begin. Please accept those invites. I missed that. Never mind.
No, you can't run off yet. You gotta stay till the bitter end.
We have an agenda, we need you for a
Yeah.
quorum, so
You've got
let's make
to
it
hear the
fast.
vote.
Vote on the exhibit A.
This young lady has
Have to stay until you get back.
We've gone into her.
All right, real quick. Are we ready yet?
Yes, you are in open session.
All right, roll call vote for open session. Go ahead, go ahead. Take your time.
Doherty.
Have nothing else to do.
Doherty,
Here.
Iqbal, Kenyon,
Yes.
Linder,
Linder here.
Caius,
Vice President.
Ford.
For present. All right, so
Mr. Chair, I would, I move that we release the closed session minutes as per Exhibit A as presented by our state's attorney.
Do you need a second?
yes, I do.
I'll second that.
I think we do. We gotta do a roll call vote for this.
Yes.
Okay. Doherty,
There he is.
Iqbal, Kenyon,
Yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Ford.
Ford, yes. All right.
Yeah, Kenyon.
Thank you all.
It's time, boys and girls, that I
Oh.
move to adjourn. It's a morning and afternoon meeting.
Turn it up, will you?
Yeah.
Caius second.
Oh.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.